Hello everyone, in this video we will learn how to add complex numbers using object-oriented programming in Python. We will define a complex class, add two complex numbers and then extend it to add n complex numbers. So the problem statement is define a function that takes two objects representing complex numbers and returns a new complex number with their sum. Define a suitable complex. So the problem statement is define a function that takes two objects representing complex numbers and returns a new complex number with the sum of those two complex numbers which you have added. Define a suitable class complex to represent the complex number. Develop a program to read n complex number which should be greater than equals to 2 and compute the addition of n complex numbers. So in simple words, a complex number has two parts, a real part and imaginary part. For example, 3 plus 4i is a complex number where real part is 3 and imaginary part is 4. Our goal is to create a class to store real and imaginary values, add two complex numbers using method, repeatedly add n complex numbers using object. So here we'll be playing with the object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming means we can define almost everything which is in the real world in the object and classes. So what is an object? Object is an instance of the class. So what is a class? Class is a blueprint for an object. By referring class, we are creating object. So the approach here we are using is we are creating a class named complex first. Then we are using a constructor to initialize real and imaginary values. That is an initializer function, init function. Define an add method. Method means the function within the class. Then define an add method to add two complex number. Then we are reading n complex number using a loop. Keep adding them to a total object. Then finally we display the sum. This is an algorithm. So first we have to define a class. That is a complex that we have to define a class named complex to represent a complex number that was given in the question. After that, this is just a simple syntax to define a class. Then we have to create a constructor with initializing values r as the real part, I as an imaginary part. The self keywords refers to the current object. Then we have to add another method which will return the addition of those two complex numbers. This method will take another complex object as input, adds the real parts together, add the imaginary part together, returns a new complex object with the result. So after that we have to take the values from the user. So we have to read number of complex numbers, how many complex numbers we need. This line will read the number of complex numbers to be added. After that we have to initialize a total, so that we create an initial complex number that is 0 plus 0i. This will store the sum, all the sum. Then we have to run the for loop n times to read real and imaginary values. After that we have to take the values of r, real part and imaginary part. It will read the real and imaginary parts from the user and convert to float. After that we have to take each complex number that was created. Each complex number is been created as an object and then it was added to the total using the add method. Then we have to display the final of all the complex number. So after running this we can just check the output. So we have to give how many numbers, for example 3 numbers. So real part will be 2, imaginary part 3, real part again 4, imaginary part 1, real part 3, imaginary part 1. So you can check all the real parts. So real part is 3 and imaginary part is 1. So the summation will be 2 plus 4, that is 6, plus 3, it is 9. Real part will be 9 and the imaginary part will be 3 plus 1, that is 4, 4 plus 1, that is 5. And for the imaginary part we have to give the I value that represents the complex number. Hope this will be clear. In the next video we'll discuss about the 9th experiment from the lab.